Let's talk about Stephen King again. Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zach with Zacks Books, and welcome back to Zocktober. We are in the second to last episode of Zocktober now, and it's been a very fun ride this far. So, yeah, we will be talking about Stephen King in this one. As you guys saw with yesterday's upload, I finished Salem's Lot's reread, and that was the last reread I've got for this month of Zocktober. So I figured I'd make a list of the next 5 that I need to reread, whether that's going to be for next year's October, hint hint wink wink, or if it's going to be just as a reread in general. So I compiled my list. I got them in order of what I for sure need to read versus what is something that's already been in the top 10 and just kind of got booted out a little bit. So the ones I'm going to talk about first are ones that have never been in the top 10 and I would like to get into the top 10. So we will have these linked down below. Obviously your covers are probably going to be different than what I've got. But yeah, without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into the list. Alright, so obviously not every single Stephen King book can fit into a top 10 list. Because there's like 70 of them and 10 is just, 1 through 10. So it's not really feasible to put that many Stephen King books in the top 10 list. And as you guys will see within the first week or two of November, I will have an updated top 10 Stephen King list for you guys. Obviously with the rereads, with the new books that I just finished, Needful Things, Dead Zone, and all that. The top 10 is shooken up a little bit right now. So, but yeah, let me show you the next 5 that I need to read to hopefully try and push in the top 10 or get them higher ranked. So, in first place, the one that I know I need to reread that a lot of people are having in their top 10s or even their favorites is Misery. This book was really good. I enjoyed it. The only flaws I ever really had with this book was the intervals of jumping from Paul Sheldon and Annie Wilkes to the story that Sheldon is writing. There are like little chapters in here where like you kind of jump ship to the other book that he's writing to kind of please Annie, and it's kind of aggravating. And I always knew in the back of my head I could always skip it, but it was confirmed that it doesn't really hold any plot details, so I could always just skip over it the next time I read it. This is one that I thought would crack the top 10, and I thought that I was going to be able to get to in Zocktober. Just didn't happen. But yeah, the first one I need to reread is Misery. Alright, the next one up is one that I am kind of scared to reread because of how big it is and how impactful it is, and that is The Stand, the complete and uncut edition. This book is a mammoth of a book. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of characters. That's what kind of turned me off the first time I read it too, was the fact that there's, you're following so many different people. You're trying to gather all the information you can. And that's ultimately what took it out of my top 10 is the more I thought about it, the more confused I got. But then I watched the TV miniseries with Gary Sinise from the 90s, and just like with Salem's Lot, I'm able to kind of put names to faces and kind of picture it a little bit better. I'm more of a visual person, and as creative as I think I am, I'm not as creative as I think I am. But ultimately, when I reread this, I think that there is a good chance it could end up getting into my top 10. But like I said earlier, I can only have 10 books in it, and I wish I could have more than 10 books, but whatever. So yeah, there you have The Stand uncut. Alright, so the next one up that I'm going to talk about is one that I know I need to reread, and it's one that Danielle's been pushing me to reread, but I just don't know if it's got the oomph to really crack the top 10, but anything's possible. I mean, Dreamcatcher stood there for a little while, so. But yeah, that's Carrie by Stephen King. His first published novel. It was a really entertaining book. It was a good story. I just think it didn't have the power to really make itself a top 10 for me. It's a thin book. It's not that long. Is it possible it could end up making it? It's very possible. Anything's possible. Like I said, Dreamcatcher was in my top 10. If Dreamcatcher is in my top 10, I don't know why Carrie couldn't be. So, I don't know. Everyone reads differently, but Carrie is definitely one that I'd need to reread when I do reread soon. So, maybe not soon. It might be a little while before I do that again. But it is going to be on the list. So, stay tuned for Carrie. Alright, so the next one up, well, these next two were in the top 10. Well, no, not the next two were in the top 10. The next one was in the top 10 and got booted out when I read Dead Zone. So thank you to Dead Zone. And that is Desperation. This book was pretty solid. It is on the chunkier side in terms of a book, not as big as The Stand is. But it is on the bigger side, and I really enjoyed the story. The whole premise about it was really cool, and I really can't wait to reread this one. I mean, I can't reread... I wish I could just read King 24/7, but it's just something that can't happen. And back in 2013, this book was $1, so... but yeah, no. Really cool stuff. I do wish to reread this one, but I got a couple that I need to make sure I read before I get to this. So there you have Desperation. Alright, before I get to this last one, I'm going to throw in an honorable mention, and that is It. A lot of you guys, when I first announced with the original reread of Pet Sematary at the beginning of October, that I was going to be rereading 4 Stephen King books, and a lot of you guys were saying It for sure needs to be it, because it was my top rated book at the time, and it just didn't happen. I ended up picking Salem's Lot instead, just because there was kind of a time crunch towards the end of the month, and Salem's Lot was like a quarter of the size, or just something like that. So we ended up going with Salem's Lot, but It is definitely something that I need to readdress and reread in the future. Because as of right now, it's not the top dog anymore. But if you want to know what the top dog is, wait till the top 10 video in November. So stay tuned. But one that is in the top 10 still, but got booted back a few spaces, is Christine. This book was an underdog. It was so good. I just realized somebody highlighted in this book. This book was so good. It was such a great story, such a cool concept. I loved everything about it. Arnie and Dennis's relationship as friends was a lot more vivid and detailed in the book than it is in the movie. I wish this is something that I really wanted to reread, but again, I had some other ones I wanted to make sure I did. My game plan was to read 2 that were in the top 10, see if they change, and then read 2 on the outside and see if I can get them in. And so, I think it was a success. But yeah, Christine, definitely one I need to readdress in the future. So, there you have, well, Christine. Alright, so those are 5 Stephen King books that I need to readdress, reread in the future, along with It, eventually. But I know another one that I do need to readdress is the Dark Tower series, but that's an animal in itself. I already have a game plan for when I do decide to reread that. It's not the most favorite thing I'm going to end up having to do, but it's something that I'm going to do. I'm going to read all 8 of them straight shot. But these 5 I definitely need to readdress. I need to get to them and, put them in a vlog for you guys or a reason to read so I can talk about them with you guys. So, yeah. Otherwise, we will have these linked down below. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and make sure you let me know what Stephen King book you would like to read next. And as always, we'll see you in tomorrow's last episode of Zocktober. Later.